Okay, bring it down a little bit. All right, it is 6 o'clock by my watch. Actually, it's 6:01. So we get to stay here till 7:01, so you can have the full hour. Is that how it works? No. Yeah, bring it down a little bit more, I think. Isn't it a little loud? Especially when I start getting into this, I'll blow the ears off. Okay, well, let's begin with a word of prayer, and we'll go ahead and get started. Heavenly Father, we ask that you'll be with us tonight as we study your word, as we go through the Old Testament, as we learn the different books and the different keywords, that you will quicken our mind to learn this great book that is the foundation for the New Testament that brings the salvation message. Lord, guide us and direct us in all that we do. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, let's all stand. Got to get. Let's see. I got 2,000 more steps to do to get my 10,000. So I might be doing this a lot today. So we're going to start with. We'll start the beginning with Judges. Okay, we'll study, and that's the we want to keep reviewing the ones that we've just learned as well. So you're ready? Judges, 400 years. Deborah, Gideon, Samson. Every man did that which was right in his own eyes, except Ruth and Samuel. United Kingdom, 120 years. Saul, no heart. David, whole heart. Solomon, half heart. Prophets speak, shape up, or ship out. That's what we learned last week, right? And that's where we stopped. Oh, that's right. Oh, that was the fun part. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, well, I thought we stopped there. Yeah, okay, so let's go. Divided kingdom, 400 years. North, South, Israel, Judah, 1920, 08. North, South, Israel, Judah, 1920, 0. And that's where we stopped, right? And then prophets, yeah, okay. Prophets speak. Okay, good. Prophets speak. Yeah, prophets speak. Yeah, I forgot about that. That was the most important part. That's probably what you knew the most. Do you feel comfortable starting, doing Judges up to that point? Let's do it one more time without me. Okay, here we go.
United Kingdom, 120 years. Saul, no heart. David, whole heart. Solomon, half heart.
400 years.
North, South, Israel, Judah, 1920.
And what does 19 mean? To where? In the Northern Kingdom. What does 20 mean? In the Southern Kingdom. What does 0 mean? Where? Northern. What? So and 8 means good kings in the Southern Kingdom. So that's where we stopped. Yeah. So we're gonna do a lot of looking at books now. We'll add some more to the walkthrough tonight. Not a whole lot, but we're getting into really critical points. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, prophets. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Prophets speak, shape up or ship out. Yeah. Okay. All right. Since you want to do the whole thing, let's do it. Do the year first. 4,000 years.
Isaac, Esau, Jacob, Joseph, Egypt, 400 years bondage, Moses, let my people go. No, 10 plagues, Passover, Red Sea, Mount Sinai, laws, tabernacle, Levites and priests, offerings and feasts, counting the faces and the head choices, 12 spies, wanderers dies, Moab, Moses, second law, dies, Joshua, Jordan, Jericho, conquer, down in the north, divided and settled 12 tribes.
Okay, now we do what we started with.
Judges, 400 years. Deborah, Gideon, Samson. Every man did that which was right in his own eyes, except Ruth and Samuel. United Kingdom, 120 years. Solomon.
No, Saul. Saul, no heart. David, whole heart. Solomon, half heart. Divided kingdom, 400 years. Prophets speak, shape up, or ship out. Okay, you did good. I mean, for the most part, you know that. I guess doing the, people ask about the motions, that really helps you to remember them too. So if I'm doing it, and that kind of does it. But at some point, you're going to do it without me even showing the motions, right? And we could probably do that later. Okay, I do want to do some reviewing. We're looking, if you don't need your book, but I'm on page 12. I'm just going to review what we covered last week. We are going to get into a lot of books tonight. Not so much advancing the walkthrough. I mean, we will, but getting keywords for a lot of these prophetic books. So we talk about 2 Samuel, and 2 Samuel is, what's the key word for 2 Samuel? Okay, look at the picture. You have 2 Samuels, 2 Samuel, keyword, David. The life story of David, as I said, is we talked about David as a man after God's own heart. It's interesting because it records all his very, very kind of serious sins, including even murder, and yet he is a man described as a man after God's own heart. Following the death of Saul, David rules over first Judah. Now, this is important. We haven't gotten to the divided kingdom yet. I know we did in our walkthrough, but in discussing them, we're still one nation. This is under Saul. However, David rules only at first, not over the entire kingdom. He rules in Judah, the southern kingdom, for 7.5 years at Hebron, and then he will eventually, after that, will reign over all of Israel for 33 years. We talk about Jerusalem as being the city of David because he conquered that and made its capital. You don't have to remember dates per se in this walkthrough. You'll learn time frames of what's happening, but just as a matter of an easy date, David, 1000 BC. That's pretty easy to remember. It gives you some kind of time frame. So this was when he did, and he's the military man. He brings the nation to the zenith of its power. But because of his sin of adultery and murder, his family life and even his reign is going to have problems. The first 10 chapters talks about these great events. The first 10 chapters talks about his triumphs, his military successes. Chapter 11 deals with his transgression, and then chapters 12 to 24, probably because of his transgressions, talks about his troubles. What were they? Well, the baby born to Bathsheba dies. His son Ammon commits incest, and as a result, his other son Absalom kills his brother Ammon and rebels against his father. There is civil war in the 10 northern kingdoms against the southern kingdom. And so it is a time of turmoil, but also a time of success. But he is a man of war. He's not allowed to build the temple. First Chronicles, we looked at that. What was the key word for First Chronicles? Editorial on David. Editorial on David. Now, from this point, we're not going in chronological order well, I say chronological order as it's listed in the Bible. We're going to go more chronological order as far as events. So we're not, so 1st and 2nd Samuel, we're not getting to 1st Kings yet. We're talking about 1st Chronicles because 1st Chronicles really relates to the time of 2nd Samuel. And it's basically an editorial on David. And so the Chronicles really are, it's like the editorial page of a newspaper. It records these historical facts surrounding the life of God's people, particularly from David, and it kind of gives a very positive, bent on it, you might say. 1st Chronicles, chapter 1 through 9, talks about David's lineage, and 10 through 29 is David's administration. So I know a lot of people don't read the Old Testament and everything, but if you want to do a study on the Old Testament, it's kind of important to know the basic formula and content and issues that these books deal with. So that's 1st Chronicles. Then we come to 1st Kings. 1st Kings is, we have one man, we have a king there, but notice he only has half a heart. So in our walkthrough, we think of 1st Samuel, we associate it with what? Solomon, but also notice that his money there is split. So it's important. This is kind of a two-word observation of 1st Kings. Solomon and splits. It talks about the reign of Solomon, but then, as you can guess, the kingdom is going to be divided. Now, again, this is the golden age of Israel. His fame and his majesty and his riches and the temple is well known. So you might say that this is the David was the zenith as far as military power is concerned. This is just kind of reaping the rewards and the wealth of it. So he does build the temple in Jerusalem. It is one of the most magnificent buildings ever built, and it attracts worldwide attention. I think I mentioned last week that after the destruction of the first temple, when they rebuilt the second temple, the old people who were there, who remembered the first temple as a little child, actually cried because it was just a pale by comparison. Herod actually extended it to bring it back during, this is King Herod, the bad King Herod. He actually built it, added to the second temple to give it more of the grandeur of the first temple as well. But when it was first constructed, it was not nearly as nice. But of course, we know that he failed in his life on faith. He had many pagan wives that kept him from it. And so it's going to usher in this divided kingdom with Israel in the north and Judah in the south. North, south, Israel, Judah, 1920-08. And it kind of tells you you had 19 kings up there, but none of them were good. You had 20 in the southern kingdom, and only 8 of those were good as well. Now, what happened then, so now you have these two divisions. This is where the split comes in. And I get to play with my pointer. I like playing with pointers. So, again, you can. Well, this isn't working. Oh, there it is. Okay. You get to see now the green and the red combined made up the United Kingdom. Notice, look at this part right here. Nothing hasn't changed much. You know what that is? That's the Philistines. Later named by the all of this area named by the Romans as an insult to the Jews as Palestine. And notice the cities there. Gaza, right there. Philistia, the Philistines. They never quite they would conquer them, but they never quite conquered them. And they have been their perennial, I would say, year after year, the thorn in their flesh. And of course, that still exists today. But you had these northern kingdoms occupying quite a bit of land, including this land right here, which is now part of modern day Jordan. But this pretty much, right, most of this right here, this little part right here, combined, is pretty much Israel today. But this is the southern kingdom. This is the northern kingdom, Israel and Judah. So they split, and it would be like if we had a civil war and the South would have won, we'd have been two nations. I had people that are very still pro-Confederate. They said, well, we would have gotten back together. We'd had to get back together, but I don't mean to get into that. But anyway, it didn't work. It didn't work here. So you now have these two divisions. Now, what caused this? Solomon's son Rehoboam chose to impose more taxes. This is all review from last week. This causes a split with the 10 northern tribes because he listened to the young wise men instead of the elder wise men. And it dealt with taxes. Boy, that's always the issue, isn't it? The young men said, no, you need to tax more. You said, my father burdened you with a heavy tax. My hand will be even heavier. The older statesmen said, no, don't do that. Lighten the taxes. Well, he listened to the young guys, and that didn't sit too well with the northern kingdom. And so you have Rehoboam as king following Solomon, Rehoboam in the south, and Jeroboam. They all end in boom. It's some of these names kind of get confusing in the north. The north, as we said, had all wicked kings, the worst being Ahab and his wife Jezebel. In fact, we kind of use a wicked woman today as saying she is a Jezebel. Now, this will be important in the walkthrough that we talk about. The northern kingdom had, we're going to learn the prophets that they are, but the two most important did not write books. So one of the things we're going to remember is to make two E's. To remember Elijah and Elisha. They prophesied to the northern kingdom. So that's kind of important. And so a lot of these stories in 1 Kings, it's kind of interesting. They deal with these prophets as well. So it's kind of interesting. Elijah tries to bring the northern kingdom back to God. And then, of course, Elijah. So that's where we got our divided kingdom, 400 years, north, south, Israel, Judah, 1920-08. We have drums. Anyone play the drums? You can get up here and maybe do this for us. We don't get a little jam session with it. Maybe we should add music to the walkthrough too. Creation, maybe do that. But anyway, you'll remember that at least, right? North, south, Israel, Judah, 1920-08. So that brings us, and prophets speak, shape up or ship out. So that brings us to our lesson tonight. Now, as I said, we're going to be talking about these prophets. This is one of the things that I think was weak in the original one, although they did give key words for all 39 books. I think it's important if you really study and learn these key words. I know we're asking you to learn a lot of memory work, but we're giving you, this is going to go, 8, 12 weeks? It's not like, that it's a whole lot during that time. But it's important to learn key words, and these cards or these things that we'll show you is important. But I do want to give you some backgrounds on the prophets. 1/4 of all scriptures are these prophetic books, so they're crucial in a historical form and also from a theological point of view. Now, you have to understand that in the Hebrew Bible, the Torah, after the first 5 books, the second division of the Hebrew Bible was known as the prophets. The Tanakh, remember that? Did you remember that? We call the Old Testament the Tanakh. Well, the Ta comes from Torah, but the Na part comes from Navim, which means, we got some Hebrew scholars here, prophets. And Navim is plural. In English, we plural with an S. In Hebrew, we do it with an im. But the Navim, the prophets, and then after that, we haven't talked about that yet. We get to what they call the writings. But the prophets consist of the former prophets, the historical books of Joshua, Judges, Samuel, and Kings. They provide the historical background for the prophets. Then the later prophets are Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, and what is known as the 12 minor prophets. Now, I don't even like that term minor because that gives the impression, well, they're not as important. They're just as important, but they generally are much smaller in content. They're not as much material. So what are the major prophets? They are called major because of their length. And you have Isaiah, Jeremiah, Lamentations, Ezekiel, and Daniel. Now, Lamentations isn't really that long. We throw it in there because it's kind of an extension of Jeremiah. So we're going to be talking about Isaiah, Jeremiah, Lamentations, Ezekiel, and Daniel. In our Bible, they are known as the major prophets. Okay? Then we have the minor prophets, and there's 12 of them. Now, these are always kind of hard because they have some of them have funny names. You have Hosea, Joel, Amos, Obadiah, Jonah, Micah, Nahum, Habakkuk, Zephaniah, Haggai, Zechariah, Malachi. I'm not saying you have to memorize those, but those are the 12 ones. So what I want to do is I want to, and we're going to study these again, not in the order that they appear in the Bible, but there's a reason why we picked this, and we'll get to that in just a minute. So the first one that we're going to study is Obadiah. Now, get this picture in your mind. You have an Obed. You picture a bed in your mind with a big O. That's Obed. Now, you have two men standing there, and they're brothers, and one of them is holding a key. The key word, and I think it's important. I mean, if I was giving a test, maybe I should give a test at the end. Have everybody individually recite the whole walkthrough, and then I will throw out all these books, and you'll tell me the key word or vice versa. The key word, and this is important to understand, Obadiah, is, go ahead and show it, brother's keeper. Now, I'll say, well, let me say it now. This is a prophecy to the country of Edom. Now, if you remember, remember last week, I wanted you to have that map, that invisible map. We had Moab over here and Edom right below it. Edom was Esau, okay? And that was the brother of Jacob. So this is a prophecy of Esau's descendants, the brother of Jacob. And it's really a condemnation on that country because you should have been your brother's keeper. Edom rushes to help Israel's enemies. That's the problem. So the major theme of Obadiah, by the way, it's the smallest book in the Old Testament. I think it might be the smallest in the Bible. I'm trying to think of, the epistles to John, the third one. They sort of compete. I'm not sure which one is the shortest, but Obadiah is very, very short. It comes right to the point. But the major theme of Obadiah is the declaration of Edom's coming doom, its judgment, because of the arrogance and cruelty that they had to their brother. So the key word for Obadiah is brother's keeper. So if I say brother's keeper, you will say, if I say Obadiah, you will say brother's keeper. Okay, good. Now, the ordering that we're studying these, and the next ones that I'm talking about as well, are prophets, and this is where we're getting into the heart of this now. That's why I really want you to study your and know your walkthrough up to this point, because now we're going to get into prophets and who they prophesied to. And we're going to study first the prophets that prophesied to non-Jewish nations, not to the northern kingdom or the southern kingdom, but to other nations. So Obadiah is in that category because he prophesied to Israel. Okay, so the next one we want to talk about is Jonah. Well, this one's an easy one. Can anyone guess what the key word is? Okay, it says fish, but whatever. The key word is fish or whale or whatever it might be. So that's pretty easy. But where did Jonah prophesy? To Nineveh, which was in the country of Assyria. So Jonah prophesies to Assyria. Now, again, this happened before the exile of the southern kingdom. So we all know the story of Jonah and the whale. Jonah and the whale. So Jonah, we haven't gotten to the walkthrough yet, but the key word there would be fish or whale. Yeah, Ed. Spell check what? The Tory. Yeah, the Tory of Joan. Of Joan. Yeah, it's the Tory of Joan. You don't know that story? Well, stay tuned. That's right. There you go. The Tory of Joan. We have to have some levity in there. Yeah, I guess those are those words, Tory? I don't know. Because spell check didn't get it. Okay, so again, that is to a non-Jewish country. The next one is Nahum. So, I mean, there's really only three that we're gonna learn. That there's only three prophets that prophesied to non-Jewish: Obadiah, Jonah, and Nahum. Now, from that picture, can you kind of guess maybe? I mean, maybe you don't even know what the book is about, but can you kind of guess from the picture what the key word might be without looking at your book? Okay. Well, it's kind of breaking down. It's flood. Yeah. And that is a mistake in your notes. I just noticed it says walls. That's not right. But anyway, it's the flood. Yes. Okay. So the prophecy to Assyria, it gives a description of a certain death for Nineveh, the capital of Assyria. The Tigris River will flood and wash away part. Actually, it could be either one, walls or flood. Part of the city's walls, and the Babylonian army will sweep through the city, and it came to pass. Now, if you remember, Jonah prophesied first, and the city repented, and they were spared. But now, Nahum is prophesying doom. Flood comes, tears down the walls, and as a result, Nineveh and Assyria is going to be destroyed. All right, so that is the three prophets that prophesied to non-Jewish countries. Brother's keeper. Okay. Flood. Fish. I mean, it's not real hard on these three so far, but anyway. So now I want to talk about the Northern Kingdom prophets. Now, the Northern Kingdom prophets are all going to be, it says ha. Yeah, I haven't got to the walkthrough yet. That's in the walkthrough. That's going to help us remember it. So we're going to say, Jonah, nah. And that's, in other words, Jonah was supposed to go, but he kind of said, nah. That's going to help us to remember later Nahum, that nah. So those are just little helpful memory words. So we haven't. We're going to get to that. Don't yet. I'm not teaching the walkthrough yet. What I'm teaching is the key words for these prophets. But I think if you know the key words, it'll help when we get to the walkthrough. So now we're going to have the Northern Kingdom prophets, and again, we're going to talk about Elijah and Elisha, and we're going to do that in the walkthrough, and we're going to get to the walkthrough. I hope, we'll get to. We'll give you the walkthrough for these prophets, and what we talk about in just a minute. You have Elijah and Elisha, and then you have Hosea and Amos. Now, obviously, this is pre-exilic. In other words, this is the Northern Kingdom, and the time frame we're going to look at. Now, we have the split. Now, the Northern Kingdom is going to, be destroyed. Okay, so that's all we need to worry about as far as these prophets are concerned, Northern Kingdom, because once they're gone, they're gone. But it's important to understand the prophets in the Southern Kingdom. Did they prophesy before the Northern Kingdom, was captured? Did they prophesy after that? Did they prophesy before the Babylonian came and took them in exile? Did they prophesy during the exile or prophesy after the exile? So that's why I think it's important that we do it in this fashion. So the northern kingdom. Let's talk about the only two prophetic written ones are Hosea, Amos, and that's how we're going to remember that. So Hosea really is an excellent book. It's probably, if you really want to start with these 12 minor prophets, Hosea is a good one to start with. First of all, it's one of the longest, but it's kind of interesting. Hosea is as a prophet to the northern kingdom, and he prophesies through dramatization. He wants to talk about how Israel is an idolatrous in the sense that she has gone after other gods. And so Israel, during her last hours, Hosea prophesies from his own experience. Now, this is kind of tough. Prophets have a tough life. He's instructed by God to marry the harlot Gomer. So he's going to live out through, you might say, drama, his own life by having this adulterous, a harlot called Gomer. So Hosea finds mirrored in his own domestic life an accurate portrayal of the unfaithfulness of God's people. So this is kind of important. This Hosea, it's a fascinating. In fact, you're probably so excited you want to run right out here and read it. Even before you go to sleep tonight. It's such a compelling story. Anyway, so Hosea. How are we going to remember Hosea? Well, we see this lady wrapped in a hose. So this is Hosea, but she's obviously at the red light district. She is and the key word is harlot. And that is the key word for Hosea, living his life out by marrying a harlot as a demonstration of how the northern kingdom rebelled against God. And then finally, for the northern kingdom, we have Amos. Now, there we have Amos. And he's holding, does anyone know, you carpenters know what that is. What is that? What is he holding? A plumb line. And that is the key word. Why? Because God uses a plumb line. He holds up this carpenter's plumb line to measure the nation against God's perfect standard. In other words, you've been tried by the plumb line and been found wanting, in essence. You've come up short with God's measurement. So the key word there is plumb line. So again, let's think about, how much time do I have here? Okay, we got plenty of time. We're going to do. Let's just think about what we've talked about so far. We've talked about the prophets to the non-Jewish countries, and we had 3 of those. Obadiah, okay, what's the key word there? Brother's keeper. Where did he prophesy to? I mean Edom. And one of the things about Edom is it was a very mountainous country. So I'm just giving you a heads up. So we're going to talk about Obadiah, okay? We're going to do a mountain, and that'll help us remember Edom. Obadiah, Edom. And then we talked about Jonah, the fish, the whale, and he said, nah. And then that was going to help us remember later Nahum. So we have Obadiah, Jonah, and Nahum, 2 countries that aren't Israel. But now we've also have the prophets to the northern kingdom. Actually, I think this lesson is probably being maybe more informative than, as far as facts are concerned, that I think are going to be very, very helpful to get us a sense of these. So then we have to the northern kingdom now. We're going to talk about 4 of them, Elijah and Elisha, but there's only 2 written books about the prophets to the northern kingdom, and that is Hosea and Amos. Hosea. Amos. Judges. Okay, you weren't expecting that one, were you? There you got it. Okay, Judges, Cycles, Deuteronomy, Second Law. Very good. Second Law. Jonah. Either answer would be okay. Genesis, Joshua, Conquest. Okay, need to review a little bit of those, don't we? I should have started with the quiz. Okay, let's move on. You're going to have a lot of homework tonight. So now I want to talk about the southern kingdom. But the southern kingdom, the prophets that we're going to talk about in the southern kingdom is going to be prophets that prophesied in the southern kingdom before the northern kingdom was, taken away. So you understand why that's important? Because when you read these, you have to understand the events that are taking place. There's a lot of warnings. There's a lot of problems going on in the northern kingdom, but they haven't been destroyed yet when 3 prophets are in the southern kingdom. And we're all going to turn around and look at Jim, because that's how we're going to remember it. They are Joel, Isaiah, and Micah. Now, don't say Jeremiah for the J. It's Joel, Isaiah, and Micah. All right, let's look at this. Joel. Okay, go to the, Okay, what do you see there? That's Jell-O. That's going to remind us of Joel. Jell-O, Joel. Okay? And who's eating the Jell-O? Okay, it's going to be locusts. And that's going to be the key word. Joel, key word is locust. Joel used the calamity of the locust in the nation of Judah as an example of the coming judgment of God. It's not going to be too long. He probably prophesied about 50 years, maybe before the northern kingdom, but it's coming, and again, most of these are prophecies of doom. A lot of these are prophecies of doom because they've been pretty bad characters. So he teaches his hearers a prophetic lesson. Then we have Isaiah. Now, how are we going to remember that? Well, we have an I that's saying ah. I say ah. I say ah. I'm getting these on these Facebook where they have the little puzzles that people try to. Have you seen those? They fascinate me. They have little pictures and you're supposed to figure out what it's. Something like this. It's kind of like that. Only they're much harder than this. Now this has actually two words. What's the one guy doing? He's kind of crying. We could say he's kind of groaning. He's kind of. What's the other guy doing? He's kind of praying, cheering. So we're going to remember 2 words. Groan and glory will be the 2 words that we associate with Isaiah. And that's important because Isaiah really is divided up into 2 parts. It really is. Isaiah is sometimes called the Bible in miniature. There are 66 chapters, and there's 66 books in our Bible. It has 2 parts. Part 1 is analogous to the Old Testament, and guess the chapters, 1 through 39. And there's 39 books in our Old Testament. It's a message of condemnation. It's the groaning. But part 2 is analogous to the New Testament because it is a message of consolation, the glory, the Messiah will come. Messiah means what? The anointed one. Mashiach, the anointed one. So Isaiah, now that's a really, this one is a, when you go to, if you go to seminary, this is a book that will test your mettle, I guess. A very, very, very good book, very, very exciting book. But anyway, okay. So we have Isaiah. So we have, Joel, keyword, locust. Remember what we're going to remember, but by the name Jim. Joel, we have Isaiah. Now we got to come up with the M, and that is Micah. So, what do we have there? We have Mike. You see Mike? The mic? That's Mike. Okay, that's a Micah sound system. And where is Micah, do you think? Court, into the courthouse. So we're going to remember this as, what does the sun represent? Well, you already get it. Day in court. Micah is day in court. And again, this is kind of the same theme. All of these prophets have this judgment theme. Prophecies to Judah. Judah is her day in court, and Micah is the prosecutor. See, he's speaking and he's prosecuting them. And guess what? The verdict is guilty. Now, all the prophecies studied so far, and this is all that we're going to talk about tonight. All the prophecies studied so far occurred before the exile of the southern kingdom, and before, obviously, and before the taking away of the northern kingdom. So these prophets prophesied in their respective places before the northern kingdom is exiled. So now we're ready to learn the walkthrough for these. So remember, prophets speak, shape up, or ship out. So what are we going to do? The first one we're going to talk about is Edom, like this. Okay, Edom, Obadiah. So we're going to put a mountain. That's going to help us to remember that it's Edom, because it's a mountain country, and we're going to put an O on top of the mountain. Edom, Obadiah. Assyria, we're going to point, Assyria, if this is Israel, Syria is going to be kind of up there. So we'll point to Assyria, and then we'll make a swimming hand notion to help us remember that it's Jonah. So Assyria, Jonah, and then we're going to say, nah. In other words, we're going to say, nah, he didn't want to go. But that's going to help us to remember and say, later, Nahum. So we have Edom, Obadiah, Assyria, Jonah, later, Nahum. Now I say, because obviously Nahum is going to come much later than that. So there you have it. Those are the prophets and the walkthrough for the prophets to the non-Jewish nation. Edom, Obadiah, Jonah, later Nahum. That's right. I forgot to point it out. Yeah. Edom, Obadiah, Assyria, Jonah, later Nahum. Okay. Northern kingdom. 2 E's. Northern kingdom, Elijah and Elisha. But what did the people say? They laughed at him and said, ha, which will help us to remember Hosea and Amos. Elijah, Hosea, Amos. Okay? And then finally, southern kingdom, what are we going to remember? Jim, Joel, Isaiah, Micah. And that's all of the walkthrough that we're going to learn tonight. That's not too bad, is it? Edom, Obadiah, Assyria, Jonah, later Nahum. Okay? Southern kingdom, what are we going to remember? Jim. Just think Jim. Joel, Isaiah, Micah. So think of the name Jim. Okay? All right. Let's stand and let's take it again from Judges. Judges. 400 years. Deborah, Gideon, Samson. Every man did that which was right in his own eyes except Ruth and Samuel. United Kingdom, 120 years. Saul, no heart. David, whole heart. Solomon, half heart. Divided kingdom, 400 years. North, south, Israel, Judah, 1920, 08. Prophets speak, shape up, or ship out. Edom, Obadiah. Assyria, Jonah, later Nahum. Okay? Southern kingdom, I'm going to think of Jim. Joel, Isaiah, Micah. And that's not so hard, is it? That much? Oh, I didn't do that? Okay. All right, I skipped. All right, cut it. All right, sorry about that. What, I forgot where we are now. Oh, Edom, Obadiah, Assyria, Jonah, later Nahum. Okay? Northern kingdom, Elijah, Elisha, Hosea, Amos. Southern kingdom, Jim, Joel, Isaiah, Micah. Get up into your little groups and practice what we learned, well, probably starting from last week and this week, to practice that. We'll come back and do it again, and then we'll do the whole thing and then leave. How's that? It's not too much. Well, you can join it over here. Whatever.
I'm a good girl. I'll go. I have no clue.
We need a leader that knows it really well to teach it to them. Do what?
Oh, my glasses. That's what I.
Kind of review from Judges. Well, kind of review what we learned tonight. After shape up and ship out, Edom, Obadiah, Assyria, Jonah, later Nahum. Okay, try to review that, and then go back and review it, and then maybe review the whole thing in your small group. Oh, no, come, yeah. No, it's good. Yeah, oh, no, that's good. No, it's fine. No, we love you coming. Absolutely.
The echo is so bad in this room.
Yeah. Okay, well, it does have a, well, that's because I think this is up kind of loud. I only need it because they're streamlining it,
Not enough people in here to absorb it either.
Yeah, right. Do what?
I was just asking, how come the Bible says there's a chronology to it, but there's not a chronology to it? You know what I'm saying? Because, like, there's.
Well, I mean, you can buy a Bible the chronological Bible that actually does it in chronological order. But
I want to know, like, I remember all these stories, and I've done, like, cover to cover, but that's the whole thing with the Bible. You just have to keep on reading it and reading it and reading it. And I just want to understand the history and all that
well, that's what we're trying to do here.
I know, I'm trying to listen.
And that's why we're not taking it exactly in the order that it's in the Bible. Yeah. Well, it's before. See, the Jim is to the southern kingdom, but that's even before the northern kingdom got taken away. So it's both. It's both. I mean, this is obviously it's before they got taken away, but the northern kingdom got taken away before they did.
So everything we looked at tonight is after the Civil War, but before either kingdom got taken away.
Right. That's right.
I don't know. There's a trash pile of knowledge up here, and I gotta get some of the old crap out, put it in new stuff.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's. Okay, how we doing? We got it all taken care of? All right. Let's okay. Some questions. Okay, wanderers. Good. 1 Samuel. Saul. 1 Samuel, 1 Saul. Cycles. Conquerors. Deuteronomy. Solomon splits. Yes. 1 Kings, good. Editorial on David. 1 Chronicles. Okay, good. Let's see. Anything else that would offerings and feasts? Leviticus. Okay. Ruth. Genesis. Numbers. 1 Samuel. 2 Samuel. 1 Kings. Solomon splits. Just think of Solomon doing a split, maybe. I don't know. Exodus. Okay, okay, good. I think you guys know that. Okay, let's. It's time. We got. What have we got? We got 5 minutes here. 6 minutes. Let's stand, and we'll start with again what we learned tonight. We'll start with prophets speak. How's that? Prophets speak, shape up, or ship out. Okay, so what do we do after that? Edom, Obadiah, Assyria, Jonah, later Nahum. Now, if you want to, you don't have to say if you think it, but you can say it. That's okay. It's just, but that should help you remember Nahum. Later Nahum. So that's what we'll say. So Assyria, Jonah, later Nahum. Okay? And then we have the northern kingdom, Elijah and Elisha. And what did the people say? They laughed at him. And that helps us remember Hosea and Amos. And southern kingdom will remember Jim, Joel, Isaiah, Micah. All right, here we go.
Isaac, Esau, Jacob, Joseph, Egypt, Jews, Egypt, 400 years bondage, Moses,
Let my people go. No, 10 plagues, Passover, Red Sea, Mount Sinai, law, tabernacle, dividing the priests, offerings and feasts, counting the faces and cutting choices, hell, spies, wonders, dies, Moab, Moses, second law, dies, Joshua, Jericho,
Jordan.
divide and conquer, south, north, divide and settle 12 tribes. Judges 400 years, Deborah, Gideon, Samson. Every man did that which was right in his own eyes, except Ruth and Samuel. 9 kingdom, 420.
No, 120. That's the one that's not 400. 120 years. Yeah, they didn't last that long. 120 years. Okay.
David, Solomon, Hathor, divided kingdom,
Now,
400 years, north, south, Israel, Judah, 1920, 08, prophecy, Shabbat, Edom, Obadiah, Assyria, Noah.
Jonah. Jonah. Nah. Later, Nahum. Northern Kingdom.
Hosea, Amos, Southern Kingdom, Jim, Joel,
You're good. Now, seriously, you know this. And I'm telling you, if you practice this every day for 5 minutes, 5 minutes, you can do it. I mean, I know this pretty well, but I still will go through it while I'm teaching. I don't do it every day of my life, but as I'm teaching this, I go through it in my mind every day. I mean, I do that just to keep it up there. So if you practice this 5 or 10 minutes a day for this next week, you'll have up to this point. It gets a little. There's still a little more to this, but it's not a whole. I mean, we're more than halfway through, and so it's not going to be too bad. You're doing great. That's great. Are you proud of yourself? Yep. You need to be proud of yourself. Okay. It's 6:59. We have 1 minute left. So we'll say a prayer for 1 minute. Okay. Heavenly Father, once again, we thank you for coming to your house, Lord, to just study your word and to have some fun, Lord, as we learn about your holy word. We ask that you'll be with us, guide us, give us the motivation to do what we need to do, and lighten our minds and our spirit to always be towards you. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay, we'll see you next week. I'm hoping, I know some of you go to other churches, but I'm hoping that when we finish that, if you know it real well, I'd like for you to come on a Sunday morning and actually stand up here and say it to the congregation. That would impress them. So anyway.